Take it away, Aubrey and Sam.
Thank you, Ellen. Big shoes to fill, though, with you. So I, learned so much getting to work with you. So, yes, as Ellen briefly mentioned, we do run a film collective called We Make Movies. And I just also want to say this presentation is coming pretty much perfectly primed because of what Megan and Chuck were talking about in terms of finding your tribe and also going out and making your own content and not waiting for the perfect gear or the perfect moment. Because we're going to go over how you can shoot a movie that looks just as good as anything you're going to see in the theaters today on your smartphone. I'm going to tell you in advance, some of this stuff is a little bit dense. It's going to be a little tech heavy at times, and it's going to be a little bit into the weeds with gear, but don't panic. At the end, there will be a link where you can download all of these slides. So if you miss anything, don't worry. You can go home and revisit anything that you might have missed. So, and there should be time for questions too if anything's too confusing, but I'm going to try and go as slow as possible, but I get it. This stuff takes a little bit to sink in. So if you feel like you're not catching it all at the first glance, don't worry. You're on the right track. So, basically, I love to start with this quote, which is sort of similar to what Chuck and Megan were also talking about. It's by Ira Glass, and he said, for the first couple years, you make stuff. It's just not that good. It's trying to be good. It has potential, but it's not. And so what he's talking about is that sometimes the first thing that you make isn't living up to your standards. It's not maybe the film that you would want to go out and watch yourself, but that's okay. It's what we're going to tell you is that by doing this, by making films on your smartphone, you can fail cheaply, you can fail quickly, and you can fail often. So I know they said you can't fail, but if you do fail, it's okay. And I think it's actually okay to admit that you failed. And the reason why we're saying that it's okay is because if you do it with the gear we're going to talk to you about, it's not going to cost you that much money. So if you do make a project and it doesn't turn out great, you're not sort of sacrificing your dream on the first go-around. You're not blowing your big budget on the first project that you make. So you can iterate and you can get better the more you do it. And this gear makes it really, really accessible and easy for you to do that. So we're going to get into the weeds now. Here's some of the gear overview. So this is the ULANZI mobile media case. So basically what this does is it holds your cell phone. So if I could have Vanna White here help me, please. If you could spin it around so they can see the phone is in the back. So basically you just pop your phone right in there and then you can connect it to a tripod. So this is the rig right here. And what's great about this is that up top, these two little slots up here are called shoe mounts. And what that means is that basically all standard gear comes with a mount that should be adaptable and should fit in this slot. So gear accessories like microphones, like lights, they just slide right in the top. So you can have all of the stuff around your camera sort of in one spot. So basically, I'm going to turn it back around so you can see. Turn it to the side. So this is a microphone on one side. And this is a little light here on top. And I'm going to talk about these more in depth soon, so don't worry. But basically, this allows you to have all of the gear on your rig and with your camera, which is your phone. So this is extremely affordable. It runs about $10 to $15 for this, and you can use it forever, basically, because it fits all sizes of phones. It slides up and down. You can keep your case on it, so if you drop your phone, which I do a lot, don't worry, it's not going to break it. And so you can also shoot in, so I don't know, I should probably go over this. So if you're shooting horizontally, which this phone right now, this is called landscape mode. And this is the mode that you want to shoot in if you're going to make most of your narrative films. This is going to make it look more cinematic. It's going to make it more look like a traditional film. If you flip it vertically, which you can see in that photo over there, that's called portrait mode. So if you ever see that and you're confused as to what that means, that's what that means. Portrait mode's great for photos, not so great for film. So try to shoot always in landscape mode. And what's great about this rig is, we're talking about creating content, creating a narrative, creating a piece of fiction, but this is the rig I use for self-tapes. It's so easy. You basically have this set up and you put yourself right in front of it and you have the perfect self-tape setup. This light here is small but very mighty. I'm going to show you later. I'm going to talk to you about it. And it gives you very flattering, very, very flattering light for self-tape. So it's great for shooting your projects but also for self-tape. So highly recommend this rig or something like it. There's plenty of other choices out there, so if you see something else, feel free. This isn't, you know, the gospel. You can definitely look out there, but this is just some of my recommendations of stuff that I really like. So, audio, microphones. So, as you can see up here, we have the Rode VIDEOMIC Go. And this runs you about $100, so it's a little bit of an investment, but it gets great quality sound. And as Megan and Chuck were talking about, crappy sound can pretty much ruin your film. It's the thing that you really need to spend the most on because it's very distracting to watch a film that has bad sound. So this is a great investment. And the reason why I like this particular microphone is that it serves a couple purposes. As you can see, it's shotgun style, so it's pointed right. If I was shooting this lovely audience in front of me, I would have it pointed right out towards you to get whatever audio I'm trying to capture. But what's also nice is that if I take it off this rig, we can also put it on a boom pole, which actually, Vanna, if you can go in the back and get the boom pole, it's so nice having an assistant. So nice. So that's the reason why I like this one, is because it's a little bit versatile and you can use it in different settings on the rig or on a boom pole. And it's great. It's really easy. There's a couple little things you will need to know, that in order to plug it into your phone, you'll need to buy a different cord than the one it comes with. Again, this stuff will all be on these slides, so don't panic. And they even have links in them, so when you download it, you can click on the link and it'll take you to the place you can buy it. So you'll find out which cords you need to plug it directly into your phone. But once you do that, it's plug and play, very, very simple. That's the cord I was telling you about, the SC7, that allows you to plug it right into your smartphone. No one can hear you without a microphone, but we're going to get to the boom pole right here. So again, this is a little bit of investment. It's about $100, but it is extremely lightweight and it fits inside this box, so it's very, very portable. It breaks down very, very small. And what's great is that, like I said, if you buy this Rode microphone, you can pop it right on the top of that boom pole, and you have basically the equivalent to a professional sound setup that any sound person on any of the films or projects or TV shows that you guys have worked on, you see those people holding the boom poles. This is just as good as what they're working with. So if you're looking for something very affordable and easy and lightweight, this is what I would recommend. You can sort of hold it up if you want to see how light it is. Very, very light. All right. So the next piece of audio equipment I'm going to talk about is a lavalier microphone, which again, you just heard them talk about how it's great and very easy to use a lav if you're filming actors, and I'm sure everyone in this room has probably had a lav put on them at some point when they've been acting. I love this one right here. This is the SENNHEISER CLIPMIC Digital, and the reason why I love this, again, it's a little bit of an investment, but again, sound is the most expensive thing I'm going to be talking about. After this, it gets really cheap again, but it's worth the investment for good sound. I'm going to say that one more time because it is very important. But the reason why I like this is that if you have an iPhone, it has the plug that you charge your phone with is called a lightning plug, and this lavalier, if you don't mind taking it out of the box, please, Vanna, has that lightning plug built in right on the bottom. So you literally plug that right into the bottom of your phone, and as they said, if you're filming with your iPhone, you're going to need 2 cell phones. So you're going to need one for the camera and one to record audio. But basically what you would do is you would plug that into a cell phone, lav up, I'm getting all my microphones tangled now, You would lav your actor, and you would basically, you know how sometimes when you're on set and you're in a scene where you have to be walking around, they maybe will tape the mic pack around your leg, or they'll hide it, you know, behind you, depending on what's going on. So it's a similar thing, but instead of a mic pack, you're gonna have a cell phone. So it's about the same size. So you can use the same tricks that you see on set in terms of using those ace bandages to wrap around your thigh, or hide it, you know, in your pocket or behind you. So it's not that hard to disguise, and it's very, very small. You can put it underneath clothing. I do recommend either wrapping it with some moleskin, or there's these things called Rycoat undercovers, which basically are moleskin, but they're pre-packaged for you, so you don't have to cut them into little sizes. And that prevents clothing from rubbing on the microphone, because that's the worst thing. I did a self-tape one time, and I got to the end and watched it back. I was like, I'm brilliant, I'm gonna book it. And my shirt was rubbing on the microphone the whole time, and I had to throw out the entire take. So definitely worth taking a few minutes to make sure that your clothing isn't going to get in the way of capturing that audio crisp and clear. So again, this is great if you need multiple audio sources, which we're going to get to a little bit of a workflow on. If you have more than one actor, you know, it's obviously easy if you're just doing a self-tape, or you can use the shotgun mic or the lav for the self-tape. But if you have multiple people in a scene talking, you're probably going to want more than one source of audio. So, yeah. This particular one is only an iPhone because of the lightning plug, but there are other ones. I will say, I don't work for Apple. I promise you, I'm going to say that outright. I don't work for Apple, but a lot of these products are very Apple friendly, and the reason why I'm going to encourage you to reconsider the next time you want to get a phone, maybe getting an Apple product, is that it's very easy for those products to talk to each other. So for instance, if you're going to be filming on your phone and you want to go and edit that on iMovie and you have a Mac computer, you can get that footage from your phone to your Mac without even having a cord via AirDrop. So it just, those products work very nicely.
Yeah, we actually did a different event here at SAG where we had Luke from Apple literally show in like 10 or 20 minutes how to get from iMovie on the iPhone, so you can literally start editing your movie right on the iPhone. Take that, go to iMovie on your Mac. You can send that iMovie project right to your Mac, and then with a little drop-down window, you can get all the way up to Final Cut Pro 10, which is their professional video platform. And then basically 3 easy steps, you've gone from basic to advanced editing. And this is how you get really good. So the reason we advocate for some of the Apple stuff is, especially if you don't have a ton of experience, you save a lot of time just being able to quickly get from one part of the process to the next.
Yes, but some of the stuff I'm going to be going through in terms of the apps, the film app that I'm going to recommend is fine for Androids as well. So don't think that if you have an Android phone, then you're out of commission here. Totally not the case. This is just easy because it's plug and play. But the SENNHEISER, the other RODE lav that they were talking about, could be used for Android phones as well. So you just have to make sure that the gear you're purchasing is compatible with whatever device you're going to be shooting on. So there's a little photo of the lav. Okay, so now we're going to go through a little bit of a sort of basic audio workflow overview. And so obviously it's always good to have audio recording on any device that you're recording video on. So even if you know that you're going to be using the lav audio of that one actor and you're probably not going to be using this microphone for that shot, still record audio on the camera, even if you're going to you're going to use the audio on the lav. And the reason why we recommend you do that is it makes editing much easier. If you're able, and Sam can probably speak a little bit better because he's the post-production expert here, but basically when you're syncing sound, you're syncing your audio to your video, it's really easy to do when you have that sort of scratch audio, they call it, the audio that maybe you're going to throw out on the device that you're filming on. So it makes it much easier for the syncing and the post-production process.
Yeah, rule number one, bottom line, is with the lightning port on the iPhone or one of the others, just make sure you connect in a microphone there. It doesn't have to be a great one, but as she's going to talk about later, when you start to use second source audio, having something that you can sync to it as opposed to just relying on the slate or something else, which can be a little bit more of an advanced editing technique, it'll just come right in on the file. So even if you use the boom mic here and you connect the boom directly to the phone, that audio from the professional boom mic is now just going to be attached directly to the video file. And if you're not an experienced editor, you just get right to work.
Right. So basically, we recommend having something like this, a shotgun microphone plugged right into the bottom of your phone that you're recording the video on. So that would be the first step. And then if you're not doing a self-tape or you're not very close, it's not a close-up, maybe you're doing a wide shot of multiple people, then you're going to want to have a second source audio, not something that's just attached to the camera, because obviously they could be 20, 30 feet away and it's not going to pick up very clear, strong audio. So in that case, that's when you would want to get your boom pole out, put a microphone like this on the top, and have your sound person get close to the actors. And then do you have a brief? We're going to have a time for Q&A, but if it's something really relevant. I just want to know what was the best distance from that. I would say probably no more than 5 to 8 feet, honestly, for this. It's pretty close up. Self-tapes, brilliant. This is great. But anything beyond that, you're going to want to have a boom pole or a lavalier. So you can have, or both, ideally, if you can splurge and have both running, that's always the best case scenario. So you'd have the boom pole out there, and maybe one of your actors who has the most dialogue in that scene, you might want to lav up as well, just to make sure you're capturing that audio very crisp and clear. And that's, I sort of mentioned earlier, the ride coat undercovers are $10, and you get these little pre-cut moleskin wraps for you, so you can avoid having the audio ruined. So yeah, so basically record audio on the main video source, but then if your subjects are further away, probably want to invest in a boom pole and or the lavalier. So we're going to move on to lighting. This little guy here is a much, much bigger version, bigger photo of this right here. And I love this light. It is extremely small. Obviously, it's like a size of a credit card, essentially. But it is very powerful. And I'm going to turn it this way so I don't blind everyone, and turn it on so you guys can sort of get an idea. So it's very bright, and it's adjustable. It's dimmable to, so if you want something softer or if you want something brighter. So for self-tapes, this is going to make you look stunning, let me tell you. It's going to erase all the sins in the world, this light here. So I highly recommend something like that for self-tape settings. Now, obviously, you can sort of see it's not hitting that wall that far away. So if you're shooting more narrative-based things, this isn't going to cut it. You're going to need a more professional 3-point light setup, which I'm going to talk briefly about in a minute. But I wanted to go over this because most of us have to do self-tapes for auditions now, and investing in this little light here, $45 is great, and it's really going to help you look the best on camera when you're sending in your auditions. And what's nice about it is, since it is so small, you can pop it out. And let's say you're shooting in a narrow sort of dark space like a car, the interior of a car, or you want to sort of, maybe you have an interesting shot in your film where someone's bending down underneath something. You can buy some double sticky tape, pop it onto the back of this, stick it to the car roof interior, stick it underneath something, and it's going to illuminate that space beautifully. So it's great for places that you can't fit a professional sort of 3-point light kit in. So I also love it for that purpose because it is pretty versatile. And moving on to the 3-point light kit, which I don't have with me, but I think most of us are probably familiar with these sort of umbrella lights. You probably have seen them on sets or even in studio photography, these are the standard lights that you're going to get. I love this one. It's $42, so it's very, very affordable. And it comes with the case. It comes with the umbrellas, the stands, everything you need, the bulbs, all in a great bag. And this is something that you can work up to. We talk about failing. So if you shoot your film and you're like, oh, the lighting is a little dark, it's not as bright as I'd like, this sort of takes a little bit of getting used to in terms of figuring out how to set up lights. But the best, if you can Google, there's plenty of tutorials. when you download this, there's a sort of an overview on how best to set up 3-point light kits. But if you Google how to set up 3-point light kits, a million web pages will come up that will walk you through the best sort of positioning and how to set up those lights. So again, if you're shooting narrative, you're probably going to want to invest in some 3-point light kits. But also something to remember is that, let's say you didn't purchase this, but you need, you're shooting in a interior space that is sort of cavernous and dark and big. You can use practical lights as a 3-point light kit. So let's say you have 3 lamps in your scene that are sort of part of that setting. You can set them up once you figure out how 3-point lighting setup works. You can use lamps and lights that you already own and set them up in a 3-point lighting way to help you out. So again, I just love these because they're bright and great and lightweight, very portable. But experiment, honestly. Play around with lighting and see what you like, and you can tell the story through the lighting choices as well. You can sort of, obviously we all know dark, scary movies using more shadows enhances that. More bright, lights for comedies. You want to sort of keep it bright, so you can put on your gear, your grip hat, and sort of play around and see what you like.
And one thing I'll say to that too is if you can light something with that light kit, when you actually get good light kits, this is going like you will be an expert. So, and that kind of applies to all of this gear, which is like if you can make something that people want to watch with this, then you're definitely ready for the more expensive stuff. And I think a lot of people have it backwards, and that's like a key takeaway for a lot of this.
So I'm going to get into something a little fancy, but really cool and really fun. So this here, Sam, if you don't mind grabbing this, is a gimbal. And so what a gimbal does is give you that smooth, steady cam feel. So when you watch, professional movies and you see that, very slow but very steady shot, whether you're doing a walk and talk and the camera's following them, they're using a gimbal. So gimbals exist also for smartphones. And there's 2 that I think are great. Both have pros and cons. This one's a little bit cheaper, so it's a great sort of starting point. It's the DJI OSMO Mobile, and it's $139. And basically how it works is, as you can see, you pop your phone right in there. You turn it on. You'll see it. It's going to wake up in a second. Oh, technology. There we go. So now, if you sort of see, if you watch the camera, as I move my arm, it follows it, but it's not jerky. It's smoothing out all of those motions. So it's gonna make your film look really professional. Even if you're shooting on an iPhone, having something like this, no one's gonna have any idea that you're only using a smartphone to make your films if you're able to invest in something a little bit like this. And as you can see, you can get accessories here. This basically allows you to put a light right next to it. You can slide that Rode microphone right into that cold shoe mount on the side too, so you can have the microphone following the actor if you're, following your actor through a walk and talk. And it's, like I said, it's gonna really up the production value of your project immensely to have something like this. Can you hold that for a second? So, there's 2 modes that I'm going to go over briefly because you can, if you invest in this, you can go through the slides again and really get it, down more pat. But basically, there's a follow mode, which basically is the mode I was sort of showing you. It just takes out that shakiness, that sort of, jerkiness of, anything you're shooting. And then there's a free mode, which is great if, let's say you wanted to do a slow pan or zoom in on an object. There's that bloody knife, the murder weapon, and you want to really highlight it in your project, and you want to just do that, slow zoom into it. If you put it on the free mode, it's going to lock it very tightly. So even if your camera tilts up a little bit, it's going to keep that object right in the center. So you don't have to worry about, holding your phone and, being a little unsure as you trip over microphone cords like I am. It's going to help take out all of that stuff. And I'm going to give you, I'm going to show you a little, it's going to be hard for those at home to see this, but basically here's the difference in video of how the 2 modes will look. So as you can see, this is the follow mode. It's following my arm as I pan it down. It's following down. As I pan up, the camera is following back up, left and right. So you can sort of see it's a much more fluid but flexible movement. It gives you a lot of more movement, range of motion. This is the free mode. So you're gonna see the same shot, and I'm gonna do the same things with my arms, but you can tell the difference. So I'm walking, I'm trying to pan up. That camera is not moving anywhere. It's staying dead center, straight ahead. So again, this would be perfect for that, you know, intense reveal of the object, or the lovers caught in an embrace, you know, something like that. It's great for dramatic reveals. But you can just see, it looks like this is a professional camera, and there's no movement and no shakiness. Another option for a gimbal is this guy right here. This is the MOVI Cinema robot. Does the exact same thing as the DJI mobile, but it's a little bit more expensive. So I do caution, maybe start with something first that's a little bit cheaper. You can turn that guy off if you want. But why I like this one is it comes with this amazing base. So you don't need, you can attach that to a tripod if you want, but for this one, you don't need to do that. You can put it down on any sort of flat surface and it stays there. And both of these come with a free app that you can download that you can set in the app, and this is all Googleable, and they give you great tutorials if you download the app, so don't worry if this sounds kind of intense and tricky. But you can basically have this set up. So if you put it down on a flat surface in the app, you can set 3 points in the app that you want it to pan to. You hit a button, and it automatically will go from point A to point B to point C, and you don't have to touch it. And the other great thing is both of these things, that let's say you're doing sort of a walk and talk, you're doing a selfie and you don't have someone to hold that camera, you can put both of those down, put that one on a tripod, and you can draw a square around your face in the app, and it's gonna follow you, as long as you don't go too far off camera, obviously. But let's say if I was sort of setting it up in front of me on stage here, and I drew a square around my face in the app, and I moved over here, the camera's gonna follow my face this way and back over here. So it's really, really fancy, cool device that does a whole heck of a lot.
And you don't need to be afraid of that. Like, you can see a tutorial, it'll show you just a little trial and error, and you'll be able to basically pick that up pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's plenty of tutorials, and like I said, both of them are great, just sort of depends on which one you like better. Both of them, you can add the accessories like microphones and lights to them. You just, for this one, it comes with an accessory. You might need a counterweight, because sometimes if you have a heavy gear on one side, the phone won't be balanced. But again, all of this, if you do invest in either of these, they both have wonderfully helpful tech support that can help you, guide you through if you do have any questions.
And a little simple tip if you're doing this at home is find a partner, kind of an accountability partner a little bit, and then they can be the subject while you test some of this stuff, and vice versa. And also you guys can help each other troubleshoot and won't want to give up so easily.
All right, the next, I think this is the last piece of gear as well, that I'm going to talk about possibly wanting to invest in is a lens. So you can buy pretty much any lens that you would see on a professional, regular, high-end camera like the REDE, as Chuck was talking about, for your phone. And one brand that is really cool is Moment. So basically how that works is you buy a case for it. So you buy a phone case, just a regular phone case, but what's different about it is it has these 2 little notches over the lenses of the phone. And then you buy whatever lens that you want to use. This one here is a wide angle lens, so it's great if you're, shooting a nice panoramic, a great landscape shot, or a wide crowd scene, and you want to get a lot packed in. This lens is going to extend the range of your sight in the camera beautifully. screws in very simply, and now you have basically the same wide-angle lens as every professional cinema film shot right on your phone now. So again, within seconds, you can have the same quality, professional quality equipment that you see anywhere on the big screen, or now the little screens as well. So Moment Lenses has telephoto lenses, which are great for zooming in. They have a beautiful anamorphic lens, which gives, if you ever see films with those lens flares, you know, those little like sort of prisms that you see on films that look gorgeous. That's what an anamorphic lens is going to do. But they have lots of different choices. So here's the difference. So basically on the left-hand side, you see that's with the wide angle lens, and on the right, that's without. So you see a lot more of the cityscape around that tall building. It gives you a lot more of a picture, a wider picture, more of the story can fit into the frame with something like this. Yeah, so data dumping. This is something that seems kind of obvious, but it's something that I think a lot of people forget. If you're shooting video and audio, some of those files are going to be very large and very going to take up a lot of space on your phone. So you're going to want to have a hard drive to get your footage off your phone onto, so you can keep shooting, because a lot of times you'll get, you know, halfway through the day and you'll realize your phone is full, your memory is full. And so you want to have an external hard drive, something like this, that you can just get your footage off of so you can keep shooting. So it's basic, but it's just a good reminder to think about when you have a shoot coming up. All right. This stuff is going to be a little hard to talk about without having it in front of you. But again, don't panic. You can download these slides and go over it. But I'm just going to go over sort of a basic overview of the two apps that I think you're going to want to download. The first one is FILMIC Pro for Android and iPhone. It's $15 and worth every penny. This app turns your camera, your phone, into the same professional video camera as a REDE. It has all the same settings, all the same adjustments and selections that any professional high-end camera is. So while the built-in native camera to your app is fine for just playing around, if you want to start making something professional and you want to start playing with zoom, or you want to start playing with exposure and focus, this is the app to download to help you get all that. So here's some basics. Again, don't panic. You don't need to, I know it's not in front of you, it's hard to remember, but I'm just going to say it out loud so people watching, and if you watch this video later, you can sort of you know, go back to it as a brief tutorial on how to get started. So as you can see, that purple arrow is pointing to the square. That's the focus reticle. That's what you want to put on your main subject. So you just drag and drop that square right onto the person's face or the object, whatever it is you're shooting. The circle, which that purple arrow is pointing to now, is the exposure. So as you drag that circle around the screen, the exposure, the brightness and darkness of the shot is going to change. So you should play around and see what you like. If you want it to be a little darker, a little brighter, play around, just drag it around until the actual shot looks appealing to your eyes. If you tap either the square or the circle, it's going to lock it, which means that it's not going to change. So you're going to lock that exposure or lock the focus. So even if you can't accidentally drag it, it can't get changed. So it's going to keep that setting for the duration of the time that it's locked. So this is a white balance. This is great if you are doing something that's very vibrant, color dense, and you want to make sure that the colors are showing up appropriately. You can sort of set the white balance in advance. Again, you can Google, if you even Google FILMIC Pro white balance, it'll go through a 45-minute video on just that. So don't feel like just because some of this stuff might seem a little confusing. Don't worry, all of this stuff is very easy to find online and go over. But I just want to sort of go through what this device and what this app is capable of so you can sort of know the power that you can have literally in your hands minutes after this presentation's done. On the side, that's the zoom. And something to know about zoom is that as you drag that up and down, that little white bar, the color is going to change from green to yellow to red. And what that's indicating is the quality of your video. And the more you zoom in, the more the quality of your video is going to decrease. It's going to degrade. It's going to go down. So you want to try and stay within the green, yellow max for a really crisp, high quality photo. So video. So basically, you know, if you're going to need to zoom in, that's when you're going to want a telephoto lens, because that's going to not degrade the quality of the photo, because it'll be a lens that's doing the zooming and not the digital zoom on the phone. That's going to take down the quality.
And to put some of that in perspective, though, movies shot today or finished in Hollywood typically finished at a 2K resolution. The resolution that you can shoot with your iPhone is 4K, or basically 4 times the size of that. So being zoomed in a little bit is not the end of the world in comparison to still being probably larger than Hollywood's currently delivering.
It's true. Down at the bottom there where that purple arrow is, that's the audio bar. So again, you're going to use this, you know, shotgun mic, plug it right into the bottom, and it's going to record this great audio from this microphone into the FILMIC Pro app. So you're going to have the video already synced up with this microphone if you use this on top of your camera rig. And you can drag the bar. Again, it's going to show you, it's really easy, color code it. If you see red levels, if you see it's getting into the red, that means you're peaking. That means it's too loud. So you're going to just want to drag it down until you see it more in the yellow, green range. So it's pretty easy. Green for go, red for stop. Same thing applies here. That button right in the corner, that's the most important one. That's record and stop. So you hit that, you want to record, you want to stop, you hit the same button, and that little triangle next to it, that's what you hit to rewatch. If you want to replay and review the clips you just watched, you push that, and it's going to come up with a library, just like on your phone. If you're taking photos or videos, it's going to look very similar to that, and you can watch what you just shot. I'm just going to go over a couple of the settings just for best practices in FILMIC Pro. So resolution, this is probably the most important thing you want to have set, is 16:9 aspect ratio is what is standard for all televisions. So what you're watching all of your TV and movies on is shot in 16:9 aspect ratio. If you see over here, there's a bunch of different options. This one there, the 1:1, the square, that's for Instagram. So if you want to shoot something that's Instagram friendly already, you can select that setting. But just know that it's better to shoot everything in 16:9, I think, and then crop it for Instagram, because if you shoot something in Instagram in the 1:1 and then you want to put it, and you're like, oh, it's so good, I want to show it on YouTube, or I want to put it on my TV, it's not going to look very good. So it's better to shoot in 16:9, crop down, than to go the other way and try and go back up. As Sam was saying, your phone, most smartphones are capable of shooting in 4K resolution, so make sure it says 4K in the settings there, or at least 1080. That's sort of going to give you that really great quality. This FILMIC Extreme is the best quality recording, so I just tend to say that's what you should keep it on. Frame rate, so if you see that button right there, you're going to hit frame rate. 24 frames per second is what most films are shot at. However, 30 frames per second are what most news broadcasts, sports, beauty bloggers are shooting in that. So if you're delivering for more online, some people prefer 30. I think 24 looks a little bit more sexy and beautiful. So, but play around, see what you like.
And this is the biggest mistake that actually most beginners make, is they shoot at the wrong frame rate for what they're doing. And then they, you know, if you're shooting something narrative, the rule of thumb is shoot 24 frames a second. If you're shooting a documentary, you can shoot 30, but still, if it's something that you feel is like you want to show to a lot of people that isn't like a standard news type thing, shoot at 24. And then make sure, this is really important, if you're doing second source audio, that your sound person is also shooting at the exact same, or is recording at the same frame rate as what you're shooting. This is the biggest problem when you get into post-production down the line and your stuff is out of sync. Also, make sure that you're consistently setting the frame rate, because when you get into post-production and you put some clips into your timeline, if the frame rate does not match or you have mixed frame rates, it can look weird shot to shot. So you want to be very consistent throughout your project with these settings.
But for most of this stuff, it's pretty simple. So don't get too
Get in the habit of knowing what frame rate you're shooting at.
This is an
Just
editor.
Trust
This is
me on
why,
this.
yeah.
If you want your editor to like you, and when you hand this off to them later, just be consistent.
So this, as we're talking about audio, just you want to make sure if you're using an external source that it's listed there. So as you can see, it says, it already recognizes that I'm using the Rode VIDEOMIC microphone, so it's, you know, labeled correctly. You want to have this automatic gain correction off if you're going to be using external audio. This is, most of the settings come already set like that, but I just am going over them in case for some reason you know, go through and you see that somehow some of this got turned on. So I tend to say turn off the automatic gain correction because if you're using external microphone, which now all of you should be using, it's going to be more prone to a hissing sound. And then voice processing also, if you can do any sort of post-production and add any kind of EQ or compression later on, turn that off because that does a very automatic generalized version, but you can do a lot more and a lot better if you're able to have an actual editor do it. Again, more advanced, totally don't need to worry about it to start shooting today, even if it's on or off, won't make or break it, but this is just best practices as you experiment and get better and get more professional with it. All right. One more app and then we're gonna wrap up here and get some questions. So this Apogee Meta Recorder app, I know that Chuck and Megan recommended the Rode app. There's other versions, there's other apps out there to record audio. I just like this one because of a couple different settings it has, which is if you buy one of these clip mics and you plug it in, it's going to unlock the unlimited recording for you, so you can get it for free. So if you buy one of these, you don't have to pay the $4.99, which is nice. And also what's great is that let's say you have 4 actors all wearing lavs, then you can, from one device, from one phone, you can start and stop recording on all 4 of those devices automatically from one phone. So it acts as a master device, which is great.
So if you're using second source audio, basically if you've ever seen a sound person who's carrying and controlling 5 different microphones, you could, for instance, do that same thing with those microphones, but using like an iPad or something and be monitoring everyone's levels. And so it's a very modern way to go about this. And if you have a lot of iPhones that your actors have, and you can use these as a resource, it's a very different way, but it's also a very advanced technique. So don't start there.
Right. This is... Now that we said the advanced, we're going to go back to just the basic on how to record using this app. So you're going to plug the mic into the bottom. For instance, if we're using the second source audio, we're using the lav. As you can see down there, it's recognizing that it's not using the internal phone microphone. It's using this CLIPMIC digital. So that's just a good visual check to make sure that it's plugged in correctly and you're not actually recording internal audio if you're splurging and using one of these nice clip mics. So make sure it's registering there. If you tap that button on the bottom left and hit scenes, you can change this. You can literally put in metadata, which means, let's say you're shooting a scene in the dining room, then you're going to go outside, and then you're going to go back into the kitchen. And it's going to be hard later on when you're in post to remember, was this file outside? Was this the one that,
Okay, here's the easiest way to probably explain that is if you've ever brought files into a video editing, NLE, and they've come in with numbers on them, and it's just gibberish, this will actually put a name on it.
Right. So literally you can type in, as you can see up top, I said dining room. This is the scene name. And at the bottom, you can even say who is wearing that microphone. So if you're recording the audio for Amy, or you're recording the audio for the chef, let's say, you can put that in there, and then when you go to look at the file later, it's literally going to have dining room, chef, scene 1, take 1, already labeled for you, so it's be very, very easy to go through your files and sync them and get to work putting your film together.
And some of you may be saying, I don't know when I'll ever need that. But then you'll shoot something and you'll bring it in, and then you'll know why you need this.
So you can literally even drag and drop if you want the scene name first, you want the creation date. This is, again, getting into the weeds. I'm going to sort of get to the end here because we're running out of time a little bit. But basically, the last thing to sort of go over is how to start and stop recording. This is pretty easy. You're going to go back. If you hit the record play button down at the bottom, that's going to bring you to this screen right here. You want to make sure your phone's in airplane mode. If you take away one thing from me, just remember, if you're shooting, turn your phone into airplane mode. Not only will it prevent it from making noises if you're shooting in the middle if you get a phone call, but also having the phone not in airplane mode can cause some kind of distortion occasionally. So just when in doubt, put your phone in airplane mode if you're using it to record audio or video. Just easy to do that. At the bottom here, you can see it's going to show a little animation. I'm dragging the gain levels up and down, and you can see I'm keeping it in the yellow. I'm trying to get rid of some of that yellow and keep it more in the green. You just want to make sure your audio isn't clipping.
-20 to -12 dB is a nice little sweet spot rule of thumb.
Yes. So, hit record. That's what we all came here for. You're gonna hit record. It's gonna start recording. It's gonna automatically update the take. It even has a nice safety feature where it can lock your phone so you don't accidentally turn it off in the middle of the scene. And then when you're done, make sure your actor hits stop. Since they're gonna be the one having the mic pack on, make sure they hit stop. And then not pause, because if they hit pause, it's gonna pick up recording in that same take, and you're gonna get confused if you're doing a new take. If you don't hit stop, it'll be all in one long file. So you want to make sure they hit stop, not pause. All right. If you hit record, it'll say that'll turn to pause. All right. So last slide I'm gonna go over is going back to what Megan and Chuck were talking about in Find Your Tribe, and what we sort of briefly mention is that Sam and I run a community called We Make Movies. We meet every Wednesday night in Hollywood. We have live events, a workshop each Wednesday, and we do writers' nights. Writers bring in new material. We do we cast it, and the audience gives feedback to the writers. We have a off-book performance night where you can bring in a scene from a movie or a play and just show off your skills so people in the community start writing parts for you, which happens a lot. And then on top of that, we also have a community pot where once the pot gets big enough, we hold a challenge and people submit projects, submit their scripts. The audience, not us, gets to vote on who gets the money to make their projects. So we are all about empowering people to make the films that they want to see, not as, sort of what they were talking about. Don't make what, you think people want to see. Make what sparks your interest. And that's what we're all about doing, is giving people the resources, the education, and the support through community to do all of that. And on top of all that, I know since we're all SAG-AFTRA members here, we want to make sure we're making content that is within the regulations and the contracts. And as they mentioned, the new SPA contract does require, as any sort of film shooter, anytime you're hiring anyone, to have workers' comp. And we are also able to help out with that. So if you need any help in terms of insurance or just education, come to us. That's my email address, Aubrey, AUBREY, @WeMakeMovies.org. Email me and I'm happy to help you out. And
actually, one little thing I'll add to that too is we had a 2-day workshop of everything you saw up here in December, where actually we had 3 teams of 4 filmmakers come in and actually make a movie using all of the stuff you see right here, and we're looking to do it again. So if you ever need to go a little bit deeper in detail, you want to work with a couple people to get hands-on, this is the type of thing we do.
all right.